It used to be the Biography channel, but since last July, it's been known as FYI, which brings you some very unique looks at lifestyle. The latest look premieres tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce you to Outback Nation.
If you can dream it, Jamie Dury will build it.
So I'm going to take your ideas, turn them into my design, and I'm going to teach you guys how to fall in love with your own backyard again.
This is when the entire design starts to come alive with flowers, foliage, and fantasy.
I'm speechless. It's so cool.
We just won the backyard lottery.
I'm going to need your total commitment. You're going to be absolutely blown away.
Love it.
It's just fantastic.
That's Jamie Dury, who is the host of Outback Nation, and we have another James that is going to join us right now. He is the executive producer of the program, James Bolosh. James, happy to have you with us.
Hello, Simon. Good to be a part of the program. Thank you.
Same here. How did Outback Nation come together?
Well, Outback Nation came to be. The company pitched the show probably about a year ago. We piloted it. We brought in Jamie Dury. He's a tremendous talent from Australia, and we wanted to do sort of a different kind of outdoor makeover show, one that was really on steroids, kind of like Bear Grylls meets the backyard. He's known for doing the most amazing makeovers, and I think when you sort of put the show on steroids like we did and make it such an experience, I think it's going to be, I know, it's going to be a tremendously fun ride for viewers tonight. So.
And what makes it even more
excited. We're totally excited.
And what makes it even more fun, James, is that this is a subject that all of us can identify. The family that, through whatever the situation, has turned their backyard into somewhat of a, well, let's be, I would say, casual about it, or let's be civil about it. Let's say, not in great shape.
Well, if we don't talk about it, maybe it'll go away. You know, it's like one of those things, like if we don't look at it, it really isn't there or it doesn't exist. But it's like these families are just, you know, they just don't know what to do. And the best thing, I think, for them to cope with these overgrown backyards, and these are America's worst backyards. I mean, we're talking overgrowth that is, it's unbelievable. And I think the thing is they just have gotten so overgrown that they just, the families just don't know what to do. You know, people are working 2 and 3 jobs. Kids are going to school, and you know, and everybody they just keep neglecting it, and then finally one day it's the day of reckoning, and it's like, look, we're afraid to go in our backyard. We don't know what's living back there. Please help us and enter Jamie Dury. And I'm going to tell you, Simon, it is like Bear Grylls meets the backyard. You have kind of never seen anything like it. I mean, it's really fun.
And for those of you who, whether you're listening to us or watching us, who've seen shows like Restaurant Impossible or Hotel Impossible on Food Network and Travel Channel, respectively, there's a bit of a unique take, James, on this program, because before anything happens, these families have to really deal with what they've created. They actually have to spend, from what I understand, they have to spend some time in the backyard.
Well, not only that. I mean, you know, Jamie goes over, meets the families, find out really what's going down. Most of this series was shot in Central Florida, sort of on the cusp of the Everglades. And you know, Jamie takes his machete with the family and sort of cuts through the overgrowth to survey the backyard to see what's in there. And then he makes a decision whether he's going to make it over. But the catch is they have to work with Jamie every step of the process, and not only work with him, but everybody tents and sleeps in the backyard for the entire time. So it's sweat equity, you know. Jamie wants everyone to connect with the backyard, wants them to sleep out there because he wants them to feel what it's like to really live in the backyard, to get a sense of what it's like back there, to get over their fears. And what we found is not only at the end, I mean, the makeovers are just absolutely breathtaking, but the families also come together, and you see a real transformation not only of the backyard but of their personal relationships as well. It's very touching. I mean, the stories are great. So,
and get to be
it's
and
fun.
Again, James, I'm sorry, James. Finish the thought.
No, it's super fun and it's super meaningful, and I think, you know, a lot of times you see these makeover shows and you're just waiting to see the final reveal, and yeah, Jamie's, you know, reveal is amazing, but the story that goes into these backyards is pretty incredible. And I'm going to tell you, every backyard had something living back there. And tonight is a 13-foot alligator. They have a pond in the back, and the pond is full of alligators, and it's scary. And the family is one of the reasons they don't like to go back there is they're just afraid of those alligators, and it's a real fear. But Jamie tackles that and figures out a way to make them more comfortable in their backyard. So.
How'd you find these families, and why'd you decide we're going to shoot all these initial episodes in one place?
Well, it's the families. Everything is the production company goes through a casting, and we take a look at it. Like any show, we're looking at backyards that really are and families that are really worthy of someone like Jamie Dury to come back there. The reason why we chose Florida is during our production window that made the best sense weather-wise. It's tricky. I mean, look at us now in New York. I mean, finally the weather is broken and all of us want to go outside again and stuff is growing. I mean, in Central Florida, it's growing all year round. So I mean, we just were with our production calendar just had to make it work there. Season two will go to a different location in the country. We'll keep it moving around.
Again, to set the scene and to be charitable to start, these are patios or outdoor locations that have seen better days, and thanks to the handiwork of this program, of your program, James, they may have their greatest days ahead. And something else that contributes is after the families spend their time outdoors, every member of that family has a role to play in the transformation.
Everybody rolls up their sleeves. Everybody has jobs to do. And, the nice thing is, Jamie, the first night, I mean, they all, after they get their tents up and after they sort of settle down and sort of, realize that, yes, they are going to be spending the night, Jamie gets them around the campfire and he's like, look, let's come up with this design together. This isn't Jamie just, pushing, his design ideas, down their throat. This is like, let's talk it through. What does everyone want in this backyard to make it a place that they want to go and hang out, that they want to go and be a part of? And Jamie takes notes, and while the family's sleeping the first night, that's when he comes up with his design. And the next morning they wake up and Jamie presents the design to him and walks everyone through what their jobs are going to be for the rest of the for the rest of the 3 days. It's a 4-day makeover.
What's Jamie like as a person?
The nicest guy in the world. He was here today. He is super, super nice. I've worked with him in the past on another show at another network, and I've maintained a friendship with him over the years. He is not only maybe the nicest guy, but he is so talented, and he's an international star. I mean, he steps foot in Australia, and it's like pandemonium. I mean, he's probably one of their number ones, if not, their number one star. He's also a huge star in Europe. He did a show called The Victory Garden, and we just feel very fortunate to have him. He's a joy to work with, super nice, and just immensely talented.
The program is Outback Nation, and it's FYI's latest series. It happens tonight at 10 p.m. East Pacific time. We have a same-day interview going on this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised with James Bolosh. He is the executive producer of the program. He also oversees other shows on the network. He's joining me live here in New York this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised. Happy you're along for the ride as well. Simon Applebaum here with you live from the studios of Brooklyn Independent Media near the Barclays Center. You have a question or comment for James? Don't be shy. You make that call. Here's the number you use, 646-652-2906. 646-652-2906. The number's good anywhere. Catch us across the country, around the globe here on Blog Talk Radio, and locally on Brooklyn Independent Media. And if you're shy again about the phone, don't worry. Use the chat room. It's available for you right now. Simon Apple 04 by name, guest 1002, and our good friend Rick Webb from Philadelphia in the room. Always a pleasure to have him aboard, and maybe he'll talk before this half hour is up. By the way, coming up before this half hour is done, I'll have a comment about Daredevil, the big new Marvel series that premiered Friday on Netflix. Not about what the series does, but what Netflix is not doing. That's coming up a little later this half hour. James, what has been the reaction so far from the families to the transformation that they get?
Well, and you'll see it tonight when you watch. I mean, every family, and I don't care if it's if you're 6 years old or, you know, every age. I mean, everybody just gets very emotional, and it's you know, they all had, you know, sort of obstacles to overcome, and whether it was not being able to bring their friends in the backyard or being embarrassed or just feeling overwhelmed or feeling, you know, like they're letting their families down. I mean, it's a tremendous relief to have you know, to have a space that they can go and enjoy, and a place where they're not embarrassed anymore, a place that they can go and really be together as a family. It's really overwhelming. They're amazing reveals. Every episode ends. The family throws a big party for their family and friends to show off their backyard. And their families and friends all know, and they all talk about how, you know, their backyard was known as like the worst one, you know, on the block or the worst one in the area. And everybody does talk about it. And I think everybody is just blown away by the transformations. I mean, Jamie Dury doesn't do anything, you know, half-assed. I mean, he goes full on, and these makeovers are tremendous.
The makeover comes with a surprise, too, from him.
Yeah. You know, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that we, the people watching, can learn from these families or what Jamie does that we can apply to the kind of backyard or outdoor situation that they face?
Well, without a doubt. You know, Jamie always is full of ideas, information, and inspiration. I mean, whether it's hanging gardens that you can do, you know, in your garden in Brooklyn, or whether it's plants that are, you know, perfect for, you know, inside the house, or furniture placement, or no, there's something for everyone in these shows. I mean, and that's, you know, I think that's the key to a good lifestyle show. I mean, it's a big night on HGTV tonight. We're back with an all-new season at 9 o'clock of Tiny House Nation, and, you know, that show is all about living, you know, a big life in a small space, you know, living your best life in a tiny space, allowing yourself to live, you know, the way you want to without being, you know, encumbered by, you know, a huge McMansion. And then at 10 o'clock today is Outback Nation.
You mentioned Tiny House. It's sort of in the 9 months that FYI has been on the air, it's sort of become one of your signature shows. Why do you think that is?
Pardon me?
Why do you think Tiny House has become a signature show for FYI?
Well, I think Tiny House Nation has become a signature show for FYI because it struck a chord. That was the conversation. And out there, as people want to live, you know, people want to live a big life, and they don't necessarily want to be encumbered with all those bills or you know, all the problems that a humongous house has to have. I mean, they want to live their best life by living small, and they don't want to be either tied down by living in one place or, you know, a myriad of different things. And you really can. I mean, what we found on FYI is that you really can live a big life by going tiny, and it's amazing. It's amazing at what these spaces, you know, at how they're just so cool. I don't even know how to describe it. And it's an interesting thing about tonight's episode. It is a family. And their home was destroyed in Hurricane Katrina, and they moved out of the area, but they still had the property, and they wanted to move back, but they wanted to, well, they have to now with zoning laws, but they built a house on stilts, and it is the coolest tiny house you've ever seen on stilts. It's amazing, and it's not a big house, but it goes up, you know, tall, so it sort of looks bigger than it is. It's a family. It's a mom, a dad, and their son, and it's a really it's an amazingly emotionally power-packed episode tonight. So.
We've had in the last couple of years a number of episodes of series like this that have dealt with the victims in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy, tornadoes, and so forth. Is it fair to say that those episodes carry more emotional heft, and that's the ones that the audience, let's say, most identifies with, the people who rebuild their lives after such a tragedy?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's you know, our heart always goes out to them and what they had to go through. I applaud their determination and their grit, and they're willing to go back after such a a terrible thing, and to see the creativity, and in a lot of these areas, tiny has become very popular. People as they rebuild, people are building tinier, and I think the thing is that even though it's a smaller space, the creativity in the way you live is so much bigger. It's just so much more innovative. It's chairs that become desks. It's tables that become, beds. Everything's got multi-function and multi-purpose. They're the coolest homes you've ever seen. It's awesome.
Outback Nation is the program we're talking about this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised. It's on FYI, the network formerly known until last July as the Biography Channel. And it's on 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Time. We're speaking with James Bolosh. He is not only the executive producer of this show, he also oversees other programs on the channel. He's with me live in New York, right here on Tomorrow Be Televised. And he'd love to take your call, so make it happen at 646-652-2906 or get into our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. A popular overnight attraction on weekends on WWR here in New York is about to make the transition from local show to national via syndication. It's called Ride With Me, and Friday on our program, we will have the executive producer, Gabasa Diacosta, hopefully live in our studio. And we may have also a very special guest from a current show that just started its second season. That's all coming up, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on Tomorrow Will Be Televised. How do you think FYI has found its voice after 9 months on the air?
Well, look, I think it all goes back to our amazing president, Jana Bennett, and the strategy of the network that she put together with our head of programming, Gina McCarthy. They are two of the smartest people that I have ever met. Jana Bennett is such a visionary. Gina McCarthy is such a visionary, and I think the programming and the strategy that they came up with, and I was so happy to ask to be a part of it. It is the most creative, forward-thinking, innovative, interesting network out there, and I truly believe that. And it's not just because I'm truly blessed to work with such great people. But it's such a forward-thinking network, and that's all under the guidance of the head of all of A&E Networks, Nancy Dubuque. It's a very creative network group. Nancy really expects that, and when you work here, she hires the most creative and innovative thinkers. I'm happy to be a part of it.
And it seems that the network likes to zag where others zig, whether it is food, whether it's fashion, whether it's relationships, or like Outback Nation, whether it's dealing with lifestyle in terms of homes, whether it is outdoors or indoors.
FYI, unlike other networks, FYI, unlike other networks, is not siloed. So There are really 4 buckets of programming that the network programs in for your taste, which is primetime food shows; for your space, which is real estate, reno, demo. Shows home-related; for your circles, which is really weddings, relationships, and dating. The number one, I guess you can call it dating wedding hybrid, is Married at First Sight, and that airs on Tuesday nights on the network. It was a social experiment that has become a huge hit for the network. It's a big night on. It's not a show that I work on, but I have to give a shout out to an amazing show. It airs at 10:15 tomorrow night, right after Married at First. All New Married at First Sight. It's called Arranged. It's 3 couples that are arranged by different people in their lives. And it's one of the most interesting, you can't stop watching shows I've ever seen, and really. I strongly recommend everyone tomorrow night, of course, catch an episode of Married at First Sight, but 10:15 Arranged is on, and it's just fascinating to watch this world of arranged marriages, which have been going on for thousands of years very successfully.
Outback Nation takes off tonight on FYI, 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Time. Look up local listings for where FYI is available in your area over cable and satellite. And for more information about both the series and the channel, here's where you go online, www.fyi.tv. That's www.fyi.tv. James Bolosh, executive producer of Outback Nation and other things too on that channel. Thanks again for joining us here in New York. A pleasure. Good luck with this new series and FYI in general.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. And FYI in Manhattan is on Cable 134. So we hope everybody enjoys the show tonight.
All right, you got it. Take care.
Thank you.
James Bolosh from FYI and Outback Nation. Again, 10 p.m. Eastern tonight.